There's been a development in the search for the missing Malaysia Airlines plane. Australian Prime Minister Tony Abbott says debris has been spotted that's consistent with satellite images released by China. This is in the southern Indian Ocean off Australia's southwest coast.
Over the last 24 hours, there have been three significant developments. New satellite imagery, new Chinese satellite imagery, does seem to suggest at least one large object down there, consistent with the object that earlier satellite imagery discovered, which I told the Australian Parliament about last week. Yesterday, one of our civilian search aircraft got visuals on a number of objects in a fairly small area in the overall Australian search zone.
This is the Chinese satellite image that the Australian Prime Minister was referring to. This object in the middle is now the focus of the search. And this is the location in the Indian Ocean, now further southwest of where the search originally began on the 18th of March. Andrew Thomas is live for us from Perth in Western Australia. Andrew, have you any more details about what Tony Abbott had to say?
Well, a few more details, yes I do. The image that you've just been showing, the one from the Chinese satellite, we first got word that there might be a new image at the press conference in Malaysia. The official giving that press conference was dramatically handed a note midway through via the Chinese ambassador to Malaysia, which suggested this new object had been spotted. We found out a bit more about that object. As you say, it's about 120 kilometres away from where an Australian satellite spotted an object a couple of days earlier. It's actually to the southwest of where that initial object was spotted. The modelling had suggested that any object moving would be moving towards the northeast. So a bit of a surprise, if you like, if it is the same object that the Australian satellite spotted, that it's moved in the other direction. That might explain why the spotter planes so far haven't spotted that object. Of course, in the meantime, it may have sunk as well. That's always a possibility. This second image was taken on the 18th of March. On top of that, though, a civilian plane that took off from this airbase on Saturday. People on board that plane believed they spotted a number of small objects floating in the water, although they couldn't really identify what they were. They then redirected one of the big search aeroplanes, the New Zealand military plane, to that area. When it got there, slightly after the civilian aircraft, all it could see was seaweed. So a little bit of confusion there, although Tony Abbott in his press conference did say that they believed one of the objects spotted by the civilian plane had been a wooden pallet. So no, not anything solid coming out of any of this, but a bit more hope that there may be something out there to find.
Hey, Andrew, is there a feeling that there may be more behind Tony Abbott's comments than he's letting on?
Well, I think the very fact that Australia's Prime Minister has made these comments and sounded slightly more optimistic than he was, say, 24 hours ago, that in itself is a reasonably significant development. That suggests Tony Abbott thinks there is something in these. You don't get the Australian Prime Minister commenting lightly. Let's just play a little bit more of what he had to say at that press conference.
It's still too early to be definite, but obviously we have now had a number of very credible leads, and there is increasing hope, no more than hope, that we might be on the road to discovering what did happen to this ill-fated aircraft.
So those comments by Tony Abbott, quite strong comments. The Deputy Prime Minister was here about 24 hours ago on this airbase, and he wasn't so positive. He was saying it may take a lot of time to identify objects, to find objects indeed. So the fact that Tony Abbott has come out just now and sounded quite bullish suggests there may be more to this than we know about at the moment. More aircraft will take off from here on Saturday. 8 will be going out over the search zone on Saturday. 6 have already taken off, 2 more in the next couple of hours. They are going to go over a wider area than they have been searching so far, because it seems that the modelling that suggested the debris will be, if it is debris, will be going in one direction may not have been entirely accurate given where this second image was spotted on the Chinese satellite. So Sunday could be an important day where the aircraft get over where these objects, whatever they are, may or may not be.
All right, Andrew, thank you very much. Andrew Thomas there, live for us from Perth in Western Australia. And we'll have more on the search for that missing plane later in the show. Many say all this has highlighted how there's not enough cooperation among Southeast Asian nations. We'll bring you that later in the program.